Welcome back to the workshop, Weekend Warriors. What you just saw was a test that stemmed from the realization that my youngest graduated from college, which means my extra set of hands in the workshop when I'm handling large stock is pretty soon going to be gone. So that made me have to build an infeed and outfeed table system for both my shorty and my full-size Shopsmiths. And at the same time, I was able to reclaim some wood from a piece of furniture that was too big for the rescue mission to take. So, fun on both sides. Anyway, the infeed and outfeed tables that I built are nothing new. They're not exactly my design. As a matter of fact, they've been built over and over the years. But if you haven't been exposed to the videos or you haven't seen them before, well, this is something helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick tour of the full-size Shopsmith, because that table is basically the design for everything else. And then we'll look at the design specifically. So, hang on.
Okay, what we have here is the outfeed side, and this is the Shopsmith recommended setup. Aside from the wooden parts right there, they have a part you can purchase to do exactly what this piece of wood here is doing. So it takes your two floating tables, uses the extension pipe that goes through the mounts on the end of the tables, and then the extendable swivel legs that are you can purchase for your Shopsmith. And if you got to cut angles, well, these things will shift to an angle, so as the table goes, they will also go. And in a moment, I'll break all this down, and you can see the design for what I've done here, even though that's probably going to change a little bit. Now, on the infeed side, instead of using multiple pipes, I just built a solid table that attaches to the extension pipe. On the underside, I have a leg. And that leg will adjust the same amount as the table on the Shopsmith. By the way, everything you see that I built this out of, this is all reclaimed wood. There were no new trees cut down for or harmed in the making of this video. And as you saw, even though it's only being supported by one leg, the table is firm enough to handle large pieces of wood. All right, so now let me break this stuff down and we'll take a closer look. Before we get into the particulars of the design, there's a couple things we have to take into consideration. One of those is the distance from the extension table pipe to the top of the table. And the easiest way to measure that is stick something like a board flat on your tabletop and measure. Now in this case, we are looking at about 7 millimeter, and if you're not wild about the metric system, we're looking at about 7/16 of an inch. That is distance from the top of the pipe to the top of the table. The other thing we have to take into consideration, especially if you're building an infeed table, is how much distance do you need from the pipe to the front of the table in order to accommodate your rip fence. Now, I found 7 inches to be about the right measurement. So those are first two numbers we have to take into consideration. Now let's go look at the table itself. So now we took a quick look at things we have to consider. And those considerations work with, you know, the Shopsmith 510 or the 500 if you've added the floating extension tables like I did. Either way, you're going to have to take those sorts of things into consideration. So now let's take a look at the table itself. Now, when I did this, I messed up my measurement a little bit, but that's okay. So, in my case, from the top of the bar to the top of the hole is about 3/8 of an inch. So I missed my measurement just a little bit, but I made up for it by recessing the tabletop, because the idea is to get the tabletop level with the top of the bar, or the top of the arm, which when put in place should be level with the top of the table in this part here. So you measure down that 7 millimeters or 7/16 of an inch, and that is the outer edge of your hole. In this case, this is about a 1-inch hole. I used a Forstner bit to cut, and then I took my Dremel tool and along the sides, not at the top, but along the sides and the bottom, I widened it just a little bit and chamfered the edges inside and out to allow the bars to slide more easily. There's no tie down on this, so I don't have a screw tying it to the bar. It's a snug enough fit that it doesn't wobble around, and because it's a fixed table, it can't go side to side or anything like that. So unlike the bars you buy from Shopsmith that have set screws, you don't need set screws with this. So those little bits of consideration aside, it's just a box. You can see that from the outside edge of the hole to the front of my table is about 7 inches. So that gives me room to lock down, adjust and lock down my rip fence. So the arms stick out that far, and other than that, like I said, it's a box with a piece of plywood screwed to it. The only other little bit is some place to put the leg that allow it to swivel, and you can still tighten it down nice and tightly. I find the length that works the best is about 30 inches overall. This one here is 31. 31, 30, it works the same. The leg itself, as I said before, it has enough adjustability to reach the ground throughout the adjustment range of the Shopsmith table. So top to bottom adjustment, this guy will cover it. If you have to set an angle, that's what the swivel is for. So you can swivel it, tighten it down, and it's going to hold its position. So like I said, the table, very, very easy to build. And like I said, this one is built out of all scrap pieces. I think it came out of an office that we kind of rebuilt a while back that had pink 1x4s or 1x3s on the wall. So that's why you see a nice pink color here, if that's pink. I'm kind of shade blind, so I'm guessing. All right, now for the outfeed table, and this can be done for an outfeed table too. It's just I figure I've got the floating extensions, why not do what Shopsmith suggests? All right, enough about tables. Let's talk about the Shopsmith style floating extension table infeed outfeed adapter. That's what this is in a wooden form. Like I said, Shopsmith does it in a cast aluminum with set screws and levelers and all that good kind of stuff. Everything that this one does, the Shopsmith does for a little bit more money. This particular one, the holes are about 5 inches apart. If you want to use it for an infeed table, you want those 7 inches apart to give yourself space for that rip fence. Once again, holes are equal distance from the top edge to the center, both of them. This one is about 5 inches apart, so I messed up, but it works great for an outfeed table. On the back side, I've got a aluminum angle iron, a little piece of aluminum angle iron that's screwed on to the back, and I've recessed it so it's flush with the surface of the wood. So when it goes up against the side of the table, it goes up flush against the side of the table. The screw pushes up underneath, under the table, to give yourself a leveler. This thing, all it does is to level the extension, and then if you put pressure, it's going to push on the table and not let you press down on it. At some point, I might add some inserts that I can have set screws in the bottom, but I also will probably end up making a metal version at some point. On my leveler, the threads are provided by a riv nut, and the riv nut is just like it sounds. It is a pop rivet, only it's got threads. And you can see there on the bottom, when it crushes down, it forms this flange, which holds it onto the bottom, and then on top, there's another flange. So it squeezes it in between there, and it stays. It doesn't break loose. It's just like I do on the screen printing screens, on my silk screens. Same item. And once again, this is just a leveling bolt with a lock nut on it. Set it once, it should be good for life. Like I said, one more time, 7-inch centers on the holes. This one's 5 inches, so I messed up when I drilled this one, but it works great as an outfeed table. Just won't work as an infeed table. Set of 2 will give you an infeed or outfeed. Set of 4 will give you both. This one costs me about $1.50 to build. So versus, I'm not sure what the Shopsmith price on these things is, but you know, $1.50, it's not going to cover shipping. Once again, I support the mothership 100%, but sometimes the funding does not match the desire. So sometimes you got to go with a little bit of cheaper version. Anyway, that's about enough for this episode. Send me comments, questions, suggestions. I am more than happy to answer any emails. The email is shown on the website or on the channel too. So, you know, feel free to email me and I will answer as best as I can. So until the next time, you all keep up the good fight and I'll see you then. Bye.